Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only, Maxi here once again, and I am back for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Paper Mario, aka, for those who live in Japan, Mario Story for the Nintendo 64. So, last time, we essentially did manage to finish up any other aspects in terms of Chapter 5 by still exploring through Mount Lava Lava and able to actually investigate through certain areas, especially not only do we get ourselves the Ultra Hammer, which is basically much more stronger in comparison to Super Hammer, but in addition to that, we also did manage to take on the next main boss in the game, which appears to be, well, Lava Piranha. So as a result though, yeah, it seems it's kind of tough at first glance, but once you're able to try to sort out with the forms of, you know, increasing defense, thanks to the forms of the water block technique, thanks to the forms of Soshi, and on top of that, same applies with the forms of the tidal wave as well, and of course using some effective items such as, you know, Snowman Doll for about twice. So yeah, you get the idea for this point. In addition to that, we also did manage to rescue the 5th Star Spirit. So as a result, her name was Miss Star, because obviously though, because of all that pink color and her hairstyle. So as a result though, yeah, you get the idea for this point. So, and yeah, it seems to be more specifically than that, guys, is about the fact that since we've somehow rescued 5 Star Spirits so far, and naturally, we've only got 2 left. So, yeah, we are getting very close to this point, everybody. So yeah, today for this video, is that as you can tell, we're somehow going back into Princess Peach's castle for the next segment. And as you can tell, that it's going to be slightly similar to the forms of how it does on the previous segment, except now, we have to go onto a different room. Although you still need to be stealthy for the most part, because obviously though again, if you get spotted by the forms of those spotlights, then obviously you get all the way back to Princess Peach's room, because otherwise though there's going to be a lot of trial and error situations if you don't know how to deal with stealthing segments as much as I do. But regardless of such though, yeah, we need to make our way to this particular door right there this time, because after all, we've already experienced not only the dining table room, thanks to the forms of the Goblin guy showed up, since in Chapter 4. In addition to that, we also already experienced the kitchen, as well as the library, and as well as the forms of that secret treasure chest room, as we've already met up with earlier. Because obviously though, we have to deliver yet another one of those badges for Mario to have. So as a result, yeah, it looks like we now ended up in this particular unknown room, although mind you, because of how the fact that we somehow spotted not only, well, a singular hammer bro, but also about the fact that we've come across into one of those junior troopers, I think is what it's called. I mean, mind you, it has been about a couple of hours since I actually have last played this game for sure, because generally speaking, I was about the fact I've been busy, as to be expected, especially because considering for the fact I can't even believe the actual progression in this Let's Play so far, it's actually gone pretty smoothly, even though despite the fact that there are a couple of times where the fact that the timing is a little bit impeccable sometimes, but still, regardless of everything else though, yeah, everything else will become to expect basically. So, oh, so it looks like we're going into the 64th trivia quiz game, so, or a quiz show to be more specifically, so either way. So yeah, it may look like we have to compete against with those 2 NPCs right here, or in some cases 2 enemies right there, one on the left and one on the right, and basically though, we have to go through 10 rounds, and your objective is pretty simple. Basically though, we need to go through 10 questions, and if you're trying to go for the most points, whoever wins the actual prize. So as a result, yeah, and also we can able to participate in it too. So either way, sounds like fun. Question 1, what's the name of the boss? And oh yeah, it's pretty simple. It's pretty obvious. Lava Piranha, because we've already taken him on. So either way, some of them are pretty much a piece of cake, whilst there are some questions that we have to, like, think carefully. And there are a couple of times though about the fact that we always have to press the A button as fast as humanly possible until you're able to get the answer correct. Because I'm pretty sure if you get the question wrong, I believe you don't get a point, I think. So, anyway, question 3. Oh, this is gonna be self-explanatory. If I can recall correctly, jump. Because I already know for the fact that we've already faced off against one of them from the likes of in Chapter 2. So, But there's gonna be some, questions that, obviously there's gonna be related to the next chapter. Maybe the top one? Oh, nice. Pass through the flower gate. So, yeah, that'll be important for later, especially considering for the fact that I'm pretty sure that once we're done with the forms of this particular segment, then we can pretty sure we can guaranteed able to get one of the most important items. So, yeah, it's pretty obvious answer, Princess Peach right there, because, you know, Bowser was so desperate, despite the fact that Bowser fails a couple of times. So, oh jeez. Flower? Yeah, it's pretty obvious because it did say flower fields related, so yeah, everything else goes all pretty cool and snazzy at the same time. Alright, question 7. Oh, I know which one this is though. Bowser? Okay, because I was assuming that was going to be something related to chapter 3, but that's not the case, so... Alright, question 4. Oh, I know what this is though. It is none other than... Boo. Because, you know, there are quite a lot of Boos lived in the forms of Boo's Mansion and as well as Forever Forest, so yeah, you get the idea. Oh jeez, I might not know this one because I haven't explored some areas throughout, so I guess this guy knows the actual specific answer. Because yeah, every time whenever they do get the actual button bust in, obviously though they know the answer already, so they obviously can't get that wrong, so, and I somehow did not expect that, but who cares, because we somehow in the lead, so no matter what though, yeah, we somehow won the actual 64th annual quiz-off, so pretty cool. So either way, that pretty much does it for this segment. So I'm generally surprised about the fact that the actual Peaches segment so far has actually gone by pretty well actually. Even though despite the fact that there are a couple of times that, you know, we have to be so accurate with the timing with that particular cooking one. But regardless of everything else though, as you can tell, we actually got ourselves the Jamming Jelly, which obviously gives us the ability to have 50 flower points, which that'll be a godsend, especially if we decide to do some more cooking eventually. Once we go all the way back to Mario's segment again, then obviously though about the fact that we can able to exponentially can now able to cook not only with 1 ingredient, but 2 ingredients. So, and by the way, you also get yourselves a sneaky Paracel, which, yeah, I'm pretty sure we'll discuss more about that particular item for later, because truth be told, once that particular quiz thing is actually over, well, it may look like this segment is done, because according to the forms of the in-game text and stuff like that, well, it maybe seems very obvious about the fact that we might able to actually see something is about to happen. So, anyways though, so yeah, a few things I want to talk about this is though, and that's what it appears to be for the fact that, well, today's date of course there is the 22nd of April today, in some cases in 2025 today, so we are naturally getting very close to approaching onto the next month, which appears to be, of course, May. So I don't know if it's entirely possible we can able to actually finish this game up just before summer is around, or perhaps even maybe sooner rather than later, because truth be told though is about the fact that, well, at least the actual uploading schedule has actually gone back into its normal runs at the very least, which I honestly totally appreciate, especially after what we somehow experienced in the past few months for the sake of the majority of 2025. I mean, not everything else can be perfect though, I'm afraid. I mean, sure enough though, I'm pretty sure that Pac-Man has already mentioned about that, and I'm especially noticeable concerning for the fact that he managed able to invite Lola Bunny, for what I've heard, in one of those videos recently. So because of that though, yeah, and yeah, basically that's what I can really say about the forms of the next Peaches segment. So, and now we're going back into Mario's segment right here, at least for the majority of the time anyway, and it may look like for the fact that we can now able to actually finish up the last few touches of Chapter 5 before you're able to actually hit back into Toad Town, because, well, truth be told about the fact that remember the forms of that magical seas that we keep on fighting throughout the majority of some areas in the game? Well, and if you probably do realize about this, is about the fact that one of those treasure chests actually did somehow land it into some spots, which as a result, yeah, we'll get into more details about that after dealing with this whole particular conversation with the forms of Miss Star, which, like I said before, since yesterday, she was obviously based off of Mario Party 5 for the sake of story mode host, which, you know, with the fact that you have to try to deal with not 1, not 2, but 3 different colored Koopa kits, or Mini Bowser if you lived in European countries, like myself. So, relatively speaking, I was about the fact that if you try to deal with all 3 of these Mini Bowsers or Koopa kits in America, then you move on to the next dream board, which you get the idea. And not to mention though, the majority of the boards in story mode in Mario Party 5 are a lot smaller in comparison to huge, larger in scale in party mode. So yeah, you get the idea about that. So, and as far as the star power, as far as this is concerned for Miss Star, basically though, if you try to use that specific spell called Smooch, basically though, this allows you to able to restore HP. But here's the thing though, it actually costs 3 star points, so, or 3 star power energy. So because of that though, that particular, you know, star energy move is actually way too expensive to use. So generally speaking, I was about the fact that you might have to use it wisely in case that there are some situations where if you come across into a tougher battle, then obviously that was about the fact that you might save it wisely. Not all the time, or not straight away, mind you. So it's just about the fact that you have to be, very cautious and a little bit more optimistic for able to try to use that specific, star energy move. So, anyways though, so everything else goes all back to normal for the sake of the forms of, you know, Lava Island as it goes by. And then again, if I do end up missing a couple of those star pieces later down the road, then luckily though I can able to look it up on the off screen, so that way I can able to judge of the forms of where these missing star pieces were. So either way. So yeah, before we're able to leave this entire place, we need to find that specific treasure chest that apparently somebody keeps on about. Ever since, you know, when the actual volcano was actually going to erupt, well, we need to go all the way to that side right there. And luckily it's not that far, it's just right over there. And what that usually contains? A volcano vase, which as a result, that's why the fact that one of those NPC characters did somehow manage able to keep on about with this whole treasure thing. So I suppose it's only the matter of time about the fact that we can now able to give the volcano vase to one of those characters. So yeah, everything else will be come to expect basically. So anyway, so in terms of the forms of badges though, I think I might able to actually go ahead and try to disable not only the fire shields, because obviously we're done with the forms of fire elementals for now, so I'm essentially going to be also trying to equip the hammer throw, because something tells me about the fact that, well, you remember how during the forms of in Chapter 1, as well as Chapter 3, that we keep on getting interrupted by the forms of that familiar foe ever since in a prologue chapter, which you know exactly what I'm on about, which is of course Junior Trooper. Well, I get the feeling for the fact that we might come across into him again at some point, so either way. And also, if you couldn't tell already, yes, we did somehow give the volcano vase back to him, so it may look like for the fact that he obviously congratulates us to able to actually try to find the treasure for him after, you know, being so obsessive and all that stuff. But then, as soon as he does realize about the fact that he actually gave us something that's very important as a thanks, which is none other than the magical seed. So as a result, he must have got it from on his journey whilst before he able to actually got here. So I suppose that makes it a little bit more obvious about the fact that, well, yeah, it seems kind of interesting that we actually got the 4th and the final magical seed before we're able to move on to the next chapter, which is of course Chapter 6. However though, I'm probably not going to do Chapter 6 just yet until specifically on Thursday, because truth be told though, there's actually more to it than that before we dive into the next chapter, which it could be something related to like flowers related. So I suppose we'll have to able to figure something out during that specific portions worth noting for. So anyways, let's go ahead and save our game again, just in case it does certain, well, power cuts, which I don't think the power cuts is not going to happen until specifically if we go back into, well, not only the autumn season, but as well as the forms of the winter season as well, especially with all that, well, blizzard and all that stuff. So anyway, so yeah, I guess with all that being said, we're about to make our way all the way back to Toad's Town, and oh, I did not notice that Chuck Quizmo is actually here again, which I totally did not know about the fact that he also appears in the forms of in the Yoshi Village right there. So I suppose that he only attempted to appear, so far anyway, not only for the likes of in Prologue, but alongside with Toad Town, and Chapter 1, and Chapter 2, and now Chapter 5. So as a result though, yeah, it seems pretty obvious. The color of Luigi's pants is blue, similar to Mario, so yeah, I think the answer is very obvious. So either way, so thankfully we're able to get yet another star piece as well. Now as far as trying to come across into a lot of questions as far as later down the road goes, I might have to do a lot of editing stuff once I'm able to try to get every single star pieces in that specific portion, but that's gonna be until for later on, that is, because obviously though I just want to get these story parts out of the way before we're able to actually move along to some additional stuff, ranging from, you know, the last few remaining sections of Toad Town tunnels, and in addition to the forms of grinding some more star pieces and all that stuff, not only for trying to find the well-hidden panels that we can able to flip through, but as well as from that though, with a whole bunch of quizzes we have to go through until we're able to actually unlock even more badges that we can able to potentially try to use sometimes, or if not, because obviously though I'm pretty much used to with like increasing attack power a lot, and is especially noticeable concerning for the fact I'm pretty much used to playing any other Mario Luigi games in the past, in addition to the forms of Mario plus Rabbids games as well, in addition to Super Mario RPG, both on the original and its remake. So, and speaking of the forms of the remake though, is that I'm pretty concerned that recently though, Cap King 34, he's actually now on to presumably the halfway point already, in terms of the forms of Super Mario RPG already, likely on the remake, because obviously though it's about the fact that so far, he actually got the 4th star piece at the moment. So because of that though, and generally speaking I was about the fact that, well, he obviously needs to get 3 more, so relatively speaking though, yeah, it seems his progress is actually going pretty smoothly too, despite the fact that he's still able to actually try to take it easy with all that. Well, the one of those illnesses that has been suffering through too, so I suppose no matter what though, it's about the fact that it's hard for me to judge of what he's actually been going on recently. So anyway, and speaking of which, there's Junior Trooper right there, so I suppose he's trying to able to actually have a rematch against with us, but he has to swim back for it. So because of that, I suppose he has been practicing the forms of the actual marathon of swimming, so yeah, I guess that's totally random, I guess. So of course there's no way we can able to skip this part, because thanks to the forms of that Junior Trooper's existence, so yeah, we always have to watch the to see what's going on in the actual across the sea and stuff like that. So, and yeah, we've made our way back to Toad Town, but before we do that stuff though, we have to deal with the actual fight first. So, because truth be told though, that like I said before, every time whenever we manage to bump into, well, Junior Trooper, obviously though we have to force to deal with a fight. So yeah, that makes it a little bit more obvious. So anyway, there's also another thing I would like to explain, is about the fact that yes, much like the forms of how it does it in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Nintendo Switch, obviously though, when it comes to Mario Kart World for Nintendo Switch 2, obviously though, there's actually yet another accessory is going to be on its way called Joy-Con 2 Wheel accessory, which as a result, it functions pretty much the same thing as the forms of how it does on the previous version, although except the fact that it's much larger, and on top of all that stuff though, you can only use Joy-Con 2 controllers this time, as opposed to the regular Joy-Con controllers. So, just to make it up for the forms of the size comparison for its shape and everything. So yeah, so it may look like, yeah, it's now time for another rematch. So, and I was expecting to try to able to switch over to Goom Mario instantly, but we'll have to do it in the actual battle throughout. So either way, time to take on the, presumably, the 4th time we can able to fight against with Junior Trooper, and oh, Oh my goodness, I love that touch. It seems that it kind of reminds me like breaking the fourth wall moment, where basically though what happens was though is that the health was originally going to be 40, but now it's dropped in half, and it's now in 20 HP, and I'm guessing it's because he swam too much, so he must have run out of breath or anything else like that. So, but either way, he's now turned into not only a flying type, but also for the fact that he now actually got a spike on its head. So, yeah, we have to figure something out in order to be able to deal with him. So, yeah, because, conveniently enough, the last time he did manage to use wings is back in Chapter 3, I think is what it says anyway. So, yeah, we'll bring out Goom Mario again, and potentially try to title the Junior Trooper for the third time, not the fourth time, because obviously, though, we haven't exactly, you know, partnered up with Goom Mario after we done with the forms of some earlier battling and stuff. So, anyway, his status-wise, when it comes to, Junior Trooper number 4, he obviously does have, well, 6 attack power and 1 defense power, but as far as HP is concerned, Goom Mario does somehow mentions 40 HP, but ultimately though, it starts off with 20 HP, because again, he actually did somehow swim a lot, so relatively speaking though, that's why I've managed able to equip the Hammer Throw, because not only it deals so much damage, like 7 hits, but as well as that though, we can have to like, well, I was assuming if I was trying to jump onto him, but ultimately though, I was attempting to go for Hammer Throw instead, because it deals so much damage, which is very satisfying. So either way, and let's just say we'll bring out Wart with us, so just in case we can able to do Electro Dash into Junior Trooper, and logically though, he's almost down, so either way, and good thing I managed able to block the actual attacks successfully, and yeah, why not? Let's show off the forms of Smooch right here, and suffice to say, she can able to actually try to restore your 20 HP, so I suppose that's really helpful in some dangerous situations, but like I said before, it costs so much star energy, like 3, so yeah, that's a bit much, don't you think? So either way, but ultimately though, we somehow kicked the forms of Junior Trooper's butts, no problem, although despite the fact that we didn't get the double experience points, which is kind of a bummer, but oh well, beggars can't be choosers, I guess. So either way, and I suppose we can now able to actually start able to be exploring into the rest of the forms of Toad's Town for reals now, and eventually we can now able to actually take on the next chapter, which like I said before, I'm not going to do the next chapter just yet though, because obviously though there's going to be some more additional stuff along the way. So yeah, we'll just have to leave it from now on, and of course, just like in Chapter 1, obviously that was about the fact that you can able to mess around with the forms of that particular Junior Trooper's defeat if you managed able to use the hammer, or jump on him, or use one of these partner's techniques. So either way, oh, what do we have here? We got ourselves not only Goombella, or Goom Maria, but as well as that though, Goom Mario's mom, I think it was? I mean, mind you, it has been some time since we somehow last experienced the prologue chapter, just because, well, we've already did somehow complete the prologue chapter since in March, so, and I can't even believe by saying this is about the fact it's been about a month ago since we've last started this game, or since we've somehow started this Let's Play, and yeah, it's gone pretty smoothly, like I said before, despite there are some glowing issues for time to time, mainly with the forms of one of those dislikes that we somehow come across into in the forms of somewhere in dry deserts because of my criticism for what I've accidentally mentioned, but I promise you guys, I'm probably not going to go for this whole entire criticism thing ever again, just because I somehow moved on, and relatively speaking, I'm still looking forward to see some new information will be added for the sake of Nintendo Switch 2, of course. So either way, because chances are though is about the fact that, well, I still don't have any luck trying to get that particular Switch 2 just yet, because obviously though that we'll have to try to figure out which one is the best store does manage to able to offer us, you know, Nintendo Switch 2 and stuff like that, but we shall wait and see. So, and I suppose there's also another thing I would like to explain about this as well, is that one of those games in particular, called Super Robot Wars Y, for the Nintendo Switch anyway, does manage to able to receive a release date, and I'm not exactly sure when that game is going to be releasing until exactly, but I suppose we should probably able to actually just to save that particular topic in a second. So, ooh, what do we have here? We got even more badges that we can able to buy. Like, I might try to go for, actually, is the supercharged hammer, because, well, obviously that was about the fact that it's much more powerful and a lot more devastating at the same time, so I might as well go for that, despite the fact I still need to figure out the badge point system. So because of that though, yeah, I'm trying to figure something out, and as well as all or nothing, so yeah, we might as well go for that as well. So, and eventually at some point that certain badges are gonna get a lot more expensive, so because of that though, oh look, it's that blob we saw from earlier. And yeah, that could be important for later. And also, we're able to come across this fellow right here again, but it may look like that certain enemy did manage to block the passage. So yeah, I suppose we have to figure something like this until specifically for tomorrow, because essentially speaking though, I think we have to go through like multitude of stuff actually before we take on the next chapter. So yeah, I guess there's nothing else to add. So but yeah, in terms of the forms of Super Robot Wars Y did manage to able to confirm the release date for the Nintendo Switch. I think it's about to be coming out at some point in August 28th in 2025, which is roughly the exact same day as in Kirby and the Forgotten Land Nintendo Switch 2 edition plus Skycross World for the Nintendo Switch 2, which, yeah, that's what I can really say about this, I guess. So, anyways though, with that being said folks, is that we get endings of this point right here, I'm afraid guys. So join me next time for more of Let's Play of Paper Mario for the Nintendo 64. Is that we're about to investigate through some additional stuff, ranging from more boss battles, and in addition to that, yeah, that's the next focus I'm going to be focusing on at this point. So I'll see you guys until tomorrow. Later fellas.